And as the sun sets in the Myland behind the clouds, we take a look at the case of cassettes we dug out from the closet.
And right off the top, in the pouch of honor, is Depeche Mode 101 Cassette 2. This is amazing. It's double cassette, double CD, double album release.
This cassette is so cool to have. It is the original that I bought back in '88, and it was the first Depeche Mode anything that I bought. And the funny thing is, I've looked through my old collection of tapes over the last couple years, and I know I can't find cassette 1. So this cassette 2 is all I have left from that set. Let's take a look. I can't even remember the last time I looked in here. This is, oh my god, this is so nostalgic. These old photos, Martin Gore, Andrew Fletcher, and the infamous Rose Bowl concert in Pasadena. I mean, this concert was a turning point for Depeche Mode. And oh, here on the other side, they had that like Americana kind of thing going on with the Anton Corbijn photography, Route 66. And this great picture with the band. And in the middle there is D.A. Pennebaker, the filmmaker, who I've heard in interview them talk about that they were kind of shocked when he said yes. They're thrilled and stoked. This, again, was the first Depeche Mode record that I bought. It was also the first Depeche Mode that I can remember hearing. I was in my good neighbor Erica Vi's bedroom, and we were playing CDs, and she put this on. She was a little older. She was one of my pipelines when I was at that age to cooler underground music. And the first song I heard, in my memory anyways, was People Are People. And I was so idealistic back then. It would have been, 88, and I was coming into having my big teenage ideas, and I was into environmentalism, and the whole idea and the whole message of People Are People just resonated with me, and the sound of it, it was pop and electronic, but dark and considered and layered and weird and amazing. It blew my mind. I went out. I don't remember where I picked up this double cassette. Back then, there was a record store in every mall, Kmart, whatever. They all had records and tapes, and by that point CDs. And I slapped this into my Walkman and listened to it non-stop. And it was my gateway into the earlier works of Depeche Mode, because again, this was a double live record, and so they leaned heavily into the music for the masses, which they were on tour for it. But of course, they were playing the fan favorites and the hits from the earlier records, so it led me into Black Celebration. It led me into Some Great Reward, into A Broken Frame, into Construction Time Again, into Speak and Spell. And one by one, I picked up those cassettes, and they became part of my arsenal, became part of my collection of music that I would stash in my pockets, throw it in my parents' car stereo, and play on the hi-fi at home. And so because this record delved me into their 80s catalog, it really was a catalyst for me in my journey of music discovery, all the 80s post-punk and new wave stuff that I devoured and was obsessed with in 88, 89, 90, and into the 90s. I've spoken before about Depeche Mode, but of course, with the music that I make with Prayer by Tantra, there are very obvious parallels, and they exert an outsized influence on the music that I still make. Look at this great track listing, and this, again, is the second cassette, so this is side C and D. So, Shake the Disease, music for the masses. Nothing, music for the masses. Pledge a Little Treasure, music for the masses. People Are People, Some Great Reward. Question of Lust, Black Celebration. Never Let Me Down Again opens side D. opens the side B of cassette 2, and that's kind of interesting. At least in the movie, they open up the concert with Behind the Wheel. Never Let Me Down Again. I don't know how well that did single-wise. I don't think it was a massive hit single for them like Strangelove was at the time. But of course, in the years since, it's become a huge fan favorite, and likely in no small part because of this concert. This concert was the culmination of them doing massive tour across the US, and it was something that people at the time were kind of shocked that they were doing, because the numbers that were there. They were more, not exactly an arena band yet. In people's minds, they were still, a big theater, a big club band playing to 2,000, 5,000 people. Depeche Mode wasn't like a 10,000, 50,000 seater band, but they proved to everybody at that time that they were, and the fans proved so hardcore that they flocked from all over the US to California, to Pasadena, to Rose Bowl, and made that concert a legendary night in the Depeche Mode lore. Never Let Me Down Again, the famous scene where Dave Gahan starts swaying his hands to the music as the song is finishing, and he looks out into the crowd, and they see everybody in tandem waving their arms and in rhythm with the music like a field of wheat. And it became one of the go-to parts of all of their sets. You can see it in likely any live recording of Never Let Me Down Again. And even when I saw them at the Bell Center in November a few months ago, Never Let Me Down Again, everybody was waiting for it. And at the end, we all did it, and we all felt it, and we all loved it. It goes to show what a moment can do to a band, a moment can do to a song. It propelled them into having the confidence to make Violator and go out, kind of conquer the world. And I mean, Dave Gahan in an interview says after this show that he wept because he felt there was no higher peak to climb that they had reached Mount Olympus, and that it was the end. And I'm sure it was, touring, and emotions run high, and you're partying, and you're not getting sleep and all that stuff. But in interview, they all talk about this show with how it was amazing, but it was also, it purged up emotions that they likely weren't expecting. I remember when this was out too, I got the VHS that was the rockumentary, the D.A. Pennebaker directed documentary of them in the US, of them playing, of the 10 teenagers who responded to K-Rock in New York and got to travel around the country, and they were they had to look a certain way. And I gotta watch that again. I watched it a million times back then, and I don't think I've seen it since at least the early 90s. I should dig it up. This again is amazing, is an amazing piece for me to have. I cherish it. It only has half of the double album. It is still the original cassette that I bought back in '88. It means a lot for me to have, and I get nostalgic when I dig through my tapes, because it brings me back to different parts of the late 80s and 90s when that was my preferred medium of music. And what more can I say? Depeche Mode 101, iconic record. You know you love it.